Welcome back to Empower Her, the Help We Need podcast, the space where we have honest conversations to help professional women thrive, not just survive in their careers, leadership, and personal growth journeys. I'm your host, Funmike Moronkeji, your HR advisor and personal transformation coach. So, over the years, through my experiences leading HR across Africa and the Middle East and working with clients in the US, I've had the privilege of working with talented professionals at different stages of their careers. I've seen individuals with incredible skills, strong work ethics, and years of experience hesitate when new opportunities arise. Not because they're incapable, not because they lack potential, but because a quiet voice says, am I really ready? Do I know enough? What if I fail? Maybe I need more experiences before I take the next step. And this is something I understand personally. Throughout my own career journey, I have experienced moments where I had to step into unfamiliar situations, navigate change, and move forward before I had every answer. So, from leading HR transformations across different regions to transitioning into new environments and redefining my own next chapter, I have learned that confidence is not always something we find before we begin. Often, confidence is something we build before we begin. Confidence requires practice. And that is the conversation we are having today. Stop waiting to feel ready. And we will be talking about learning how to move forward before confidence catches up. So, whether you're considering a new opportunity, preparing for a leadership role, navigating a career transition, or simply feeling called to grow, this episode is for you. Our conversation today connects with my newsletter, The Leadership Reset for Immigrant Professional Women, where I share practical insights on confidence, visibility, leadership growth, and navigating career transitions with intention. You can subscribe through the link in the episode description below. Because your next chapter often begins when you decide to take the first step. So let's get going with our conversations for today. So, like I said, our topic is stop waiting to feel ready. And we obviously would be speaking more to how, as professional women or professionals in our respective categories, how can we move forward before confidence catches up? And I know that the myth that confidence comes first is out there. Many professionals believe confidence is the starting point. Um, they think once I feel confident, I will apply for that job. Once I know everything, I will speak up. Once I am completely prepared, I will take the opportunity. But the reality is often different, right? So confidence usually does not come before action. Confidence is built through action. So think about any important moment in your career, your first leadership role, your first presentation. I had the nerves. Your first major decision, your first time navigating uncertainty. You probably did not feel completely ready, but you learned, right? You had to do it. It was part of the task. You had it factored into your performance evaluation. You just had to do it. But you adapted and you grew. And that experience became the foundation that your confidence grew from. So if it was a presentation, if you've done it over and over again, You no longer get the fears or the uncertainty that comes with it. You just know you had to do it. So you focus more on preparing. And the more you do those presentations, the better you are at it. So let's talk about why capable professionals still doubt themselves, right? When it comes to the work environment. And one of the most interesting things I've observed throughout my HR career is that self-doubt does not only affect people who are inexperienced, right? Sometimes it affects the most capable people. So people who have achieved success, solved complex problems, supported teams, delivered results, earned recognition. So the question is why? Why do we self-doubt? And I think the response to this question is it's because growth requires us to step into new spaces, into spaces where we're not fully comfortable. And that could feel really threatening, especially when you're moving from, I know how to do this. Now you're moving to, I need to learn something new. And this is not comfortable. This is strange. And the challenge is that many professionals mistake discomfort for inability. Because the moment you think you've not done it before, the tendency to start calibrating, oh, I'm not capable, is very real, right? That jumps at you. But discomfort is often a sign that you're growing, you're shedding new skin, you're metamorphosizing. And that's not comfortable, but that doesn't mean you're not capable. So let's move on to the danger of waiting too long, right? There's a tendency that, okay, I'll wait, right? But what I would like to say is that there is wisdom in preparing for sure. We should learn, we should develop, we should build our capability. But there's a difference between preparation and postponement, right? Preparation asks of you, what do I need to learn to move forward? So you prepare and you get yourself ready so you can move forward. Postponement, on the other hand, asks of you, what else do I need before I allow myself to begin? So you need to like get it all perfect and all set before you can take that next step and and shoot for the star or shoot for the moon, right? So many talented professionals stay in the same place because they are willing or waiting rather for a perfect moment, right? When I get the perfect qualification, when I have the perfect experience, when I have the perfect level of confidence. But leadership opportunities, they rarely arrive when everything feels comfortable. Um, and that's to the point again that growth requires that you move, that you evolve, that you leave a comfortable space to an uncomfortable space. And it's okay. We just need to constantly tell ourselves that we are growing and it's okay. And it's a matter of time. And we would get to that expected position, right? Rome was not built in a day. Um, it takes time for us to gather momentum. It takes time for us to be able to learn certain things. And then once we have that understanding, then for sure the trajectory would get better and things would get easier. So I think our conversations for today just helps us be comfortable with growth. It's okay to move into new spaces, and you learning a different way of doing things does not mean that you're incapable. So, moving from proving yourself to trusting yourself. And I think that's also an important thing that we need to look at in our conversation for today, because many professional women, especially high achievers, right? We spend years proving ourselves, right? You prove that you're capable. You prove that you belong in the room. You prove that your voice matters. You prove that you're rightfully there and your conversation around that table is important. You prove that you deserve the opportunity. But there comes a point where growth requires us to think differently, right? It's not answering the question, how do I prove I'm enough anymore? That no longer is something that would work, but asking ourselves a different type of question. How do I trust the experience I have already gained and continue building from there? How do I, because I have something, I'm not empty. Your experience has taught you something. You know, the challenges you've developed or you faced rather has developed something in you, right? Tenacity, resilience, um, the heart or the understanding to be able to spot certain loopholes, right? To preempt, to manage risk. Your journey has prepared you in ways you may not fully recognize, yes, but it is, and it continues to prepare you. So the goal is not to know everything at once. The goal is to be willing to learn, to adapt, and to grow. So let's move on to ways to stop waiting and to start moving. Having said so much, and I would kind of cap it in three ways, right? The first step is to take the next step, not the perfect step, right? Progress, not perfection. You do not need to have the entire journey mapped out. Ask, what's the meaningful next step? What's the meaningful next action I can take now? And it could be applying for a job opportunity or for that assignment. It could be having the conversation with someone that you've been like, okay, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it. Just set up the meeting. It could be sharing your ideas in the meeting. Say, anybody have any thoughts, ideas, and you're always quiet? Take the first step. Just raise your hand and say something. Say the idea that you've been holding back, share it. And it could be asking for feedback. I know for some of us, it could be that fear of constructive feedback. We don't want to hear anything negative or critical, and we fear, but feedback is also uncomfortable, but it's a space where you grow. Because if you get that constructive feedback, at least you know what you need to work on. And it could be developing a new skill. So always have it at the back of your mind that progress begins with the next step. Progress begins with movement, right? If you don't take that step, you will not move forward. Point two, separate facts from your fears. And this is something I often do myself. When self-doubt just pops up, ask yourself, what evidence do I have that I'm capable? And you write it down, like I write it down. What's the evidence that I'm capable? What experiences have prepared me for this? Am I responding to reality or am I responding to fear? And often fear will tell you a different story. It will not tell you the fact. It will not tell you the truth. It's just like you're scared to fail. That's all it tells you. And when you put things down in print, you separate the fear from the fact. Point three, building confidence through small commitments. And for some of us, it's the fear of failing. But confidence grows when we keep the promise to ourselves, because if you're afraid of failing, then you trust yourself less. So the best way to start this or to do this is start small. So, like I said, speak up in the meeting, share that idea, reach out to that connection, take the course, volunteer for the project. Every action or whatever action you take, which seems uncomfortable, but it reinforces that you can trust yourself. And if you've done it before over time and you've excelled and you've performed, then surely you will do it again. So it's a matter of you build the confidence in yourself through those small commitments that you make. And then once you take that step, the next becomes easier. The next step becomes easier. So moving on to reflection questions before we close, I would invite you to reflect on three questions. The first question is, what opportunity, conversation, or decision Have you been delaying because you don't feel ready? The second question would be, what would you do differently if you trusted your experience more? And the third question is, what is one action you would take this week that moves you closer to your next chapter? Remember, you do not have to feel fearless to move forward. It's part of the process. It's just doing it despite the fear. You just simply need to be willing to take that step. And while it may sound okay, it's simple, but it's not, then get somebody to hold you accountable. Get a colleague, get a trusted person, get your spouse, get your friend, get your sibling, get somebody, even in the workspace, that could support you to hold you accountable so you can take that next step. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to the Leadership Reset for Immigrant Professional Women. Through this newsletter, I share practical reflections and strategies to help professional women strengthen confidence, increase visibility, navigate workplace challenges, and intentionally build careers where they can thrive. And the goal is simple, really. The goal is to help you move from surviving your career journey to creating one where you feel confident, valued, and empowered. You can subscribe through the link in this episode description. So, in closing, remember, you do not become ready by waiting. You become ready by stepping forward. And every leader you admire has had moments of uncertainty. Every successful professional has had moments where they questioned themselves. The difference is that they chose to move forward despite the uncertainty. Your confidence is not something you have to wait for. It's something you build through courage, through action, and through experience. Thank you for joining me on Empower Her, the Help We Need podcast. In our next episode, Leading Through Seasons of Uncertainty, we will explore how to remain grounded, create clarity, and lead effectively when circumstances are changing and the path ahead is not always clear. Until next time, stay empowered and remember to empower her.